everyone, and welcome again to the chat. Unfortunately, we're still in lockdown here in Melbourne, but it's given me time to do a little bit of research and look into how trainers are looking to communicate with their owners more using social mediums. And one of those is Friends of Mr. Ed. And now, before I introduce my guest, I will disclaim and say that I do work for Friends of Mr. Ed, so I might be a little bit biased here, but we'll work that out later. And joining me today is one of the co-founders of Friends of Mr. Ed and my boss in Richard Busso. G'day, Rich. How are you, mate?
Oh, well, Ben, yourself?
Yeah, very well, thank you. First of all, thanks very much for coming on. And we met at Ballarat Cup Day, I think 2019, didn't we?
We did, mate. It was a great day there. We actually won the quaddie that day, which was great.
Certainly did. I think I met you through, I think it was Monique Alice Parker, who owns some horses with First Light, like you do too.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, she's a lovely person, Monique.
And just to get on to Friends of Mr. Ed, what made you establish the app? What's the reasoning behind it?
Yeah, so we created the app with an experience with our first horse called Sweet Redemption. So we purchased a share in a horse from the English sales under Gay Waterhouse's wing and Adrian Bott. And our backgrounds are in financial services, building out digital solutions. And we just knew that there was a better way. The horse was based in Sydney. We were in Melbourne. We had a guy in Adelaide and a guy in the States. And we created a WhatsApp group. And we just thought, hey, there's got to be a better way of doing this. So, yeah, we built out the Friends of Mr. Ed app.
If I'm a trainer and I want to looking to use Fred as my communication tool with my owners rather than sending out countless emails all the time, why would you recommend it?
So what Fred enables the trainers to do is we let them really run their business how they run it today. So if they're using Prism or Ardex or MyStable or just use their own email system, that remains the same. Where Fred can really help them out is, we give them the option as owners to help with that communication. We know they're really busy. It's often that they get up early in the morning, they go throughout the whole day. They don't need every owner ringing them up, asking them the same question. Friends of Mr. Ed can really help them out with that.
And do you feel it's avoiding overlap too, like with too many emails or too many social media notifications? Because it's a one-stop shop because everything's in the one place.
Correct, right? So we're a consolidation of all these other different apps out there. So we get in the emails from Ardex, MyStable, Prism. We've got the chat capability. Our partners with Atkins Photography and Bradley Photos get all the race day photos. So we're trying to build out an ecosystem for a racehorse owner. So they go into one place and we'll connect them up to the ecosystem.
But as you and I have discussed, off air in our roles with Fred, we get a bit of pushback with regards to the chat function. Why do you think that is? And how do you think that we can overcome that? And I say that because all they have to do is download the app themselves, the trainer or the syndicator, and they can see what's being said.
Yeah. It is a concern that we often get, Ben, so thanks for raising it. Look, there is always a squeaky wheel in racehorse ownership. There is always that owner that thinks they're a jockey or thinks they know how to train, or lost on the punt and think there's a better run. So there is often a case where the trainers or the syndicators will get that bad press. What we've found with Fred and through those chat channels is really the owners are self-moderating the discussion. So if there is a squeaky wheel, one of the other owners will jump in and say, pull your head in, the run was okay, the jockey did a good job, they got blocked, better for the run, and they'll explain the race out. There is times where you will get frustrated as an owner. I've been frustrated as an owner, and having that conversation and talking to the trainer specifically around that particular run. Well, then after that you calm down. So it is a matter of having that open dialogue. And if the trainers and the syndicators jump in and put everyone to rest, those conversations get stopped pretty quickly. So that's the negative we hear, but the positives that we hear, we've got owners all around the country and overseas that actually love it. They've never met the other owners within the group. They can't get to the track at the moment. So this is a really good way for them to be connected, talk about betting strategies, to celebrate the win after the race if you have a win, to celebrate the losses if it doesn't win. So we're actually finding that community is becoming really strong.
What kind of uptake have you had from trainers? I know Gordon Richards in South Australia is one example that's come on board recently.
Yeah, so we've got Gordon Richards in SA. We've got a partnership with them and also with Saroa in SA. So we're really trying to grow out the South Australian capability. We've got about 10 trainers on board. We're just signed up the Friedman brothers. We've got Esprit Racing in Queensland. They're a good use case. Esprit Racing mandate the Fred app for all their communications. They're a My Stable shop, so everything gets integrated in. We've got Feek Racing, Nichols, Allerton Zara, EJ. We've got a range of different trainers on board now, and what the marketplace in Fred gives our owners is they gives them an opportunity to have a look, see what the trainers have for sale, and we've actually found we're becoming a place where owners would send us an email or give us a phone call and ask, hey, I don't know how to get into racehorse ownership. Can you help me out?
And I've actually seen some of the social media posts that go out called like the owner education, and it looks like the engagement on them has been pretty good because people are having those questions answered in a relaxed kind of manner.
Look, I really want to tip my hat and call out Emily Schultz. She's been a fantastic contributor to our team. She's the person in the background that's done all those blogs and written up all those stories. She's now got a successful career with Channel 7 in racing. So, she's done a sensational job. And yes, the engagement through the social channels has been fantastic.
And you say, and you use the tagline, the future of racehorse ownership is used in all your marketing. What are you referring to? And when you say that, is it to do with the fact that it's a one-stop shop, or what is it?
Yeah, so the call out there for the future of racehorse ownership, like the generation of a racehorse owner is quite, that 45 plus range. We're not really, as an industry, bringing in the younger generation. And what we really want to do is we want to educate those people. They don't know how to get into racehorse ownership. If we can make it easy for them to get into a racehorse, enable them to communicate, they're always on their phones. And what we mean by the future of racehorse ownership, that big digital component of the social side of racing, chatting to the owners, getting on track, connecting to a club, getting your potentially getting your race card on the app as well. And we really want to bring that ecosystem all together. So if we look 10 years down the track, we hope that Fred's that main central source of truth.
And you mentioned younger people within racing. I think one of the criticisms you could say, Rich, of a lot of the clubs has been it's sort of like come springtime, it's sort of like it's just a day to go and put a jacket and tie on and go and get pissed. You know what I mean? And there's not really much about the actual races themselves. It shouldn't just be about a nightclub at the races. There should be more done to sort of showcase ownership and that kind of thing. You know what I mean? There's not much of a synergy, is there, at the moment?
Yeah, look, the ownership side, and as our blocks mention, people don't know how to actually get into racehorse ownership.
Yeah.
Like my background's financial services, so I've got a lot of friends in that age bracket that maybe double income, kids are all grown up and they've got some disposable money. And they come to me and they go, Rich, where do we start? When are you getting into your next horse? And I'm like, I'm not. But I want to get into a horse. I don't know how. Can you help us? So really educating that type of individual that, goes to the spring racing carnival, enjoys the party, enjoys the drink, enjoys the atmosphere, but have never owned a racehorse themselves. We really want to help them get into that exciting part of racehorse ownership.
What's on the horizon for Fred? Just going to try and keep pushing? Because at the moment, I believe we've got just over 3,000, or that you guys have got just over 3,000 unique users. So you've got a particular target you want to meet, and obviously there's
look, we're on a trajectory to get to 5,000 before the end of the year, and then 10,000 soon after. We've just kicked off a really big marketing campaign, so you probably see our ads. But really, what's in the horizon for Friends of Mr. Ed is, to be that central place for racehorse ownership. What we've got in the App Store at the moment that you can download is more of that social side of racing. We really want to bring all of those other characteristics and features that everyone's asking for into the app, right? And be that one place. So, if we look 3-4 years down the track, there'll be a lot more features that we can implement, get all the other states connected, get all the trainers on board, and really be that social side of racing with all the other features of racehorse ownership.
And just on your own ownership interests, what kind of shares have you got at the moment, and with which trainers?
Oh, that's a loaded question there, Ben. We've got a few at the moment. We've probably got about 13 active at the moment across the country. We really try to support our trainers that jump on board. We'll always get a 5% share with them, and we'll get a new bunch of owners into the group by creating our own little syndicate. where do we start? I need my app to actually show me all of them. We've got a couple of first timers. So Gordon Richards stable with a Rich Enough filly just named Electric Mayhem. Esprit Racing, we've got a She Shall Rule out of Queensland. Allerton Zara, we've got Duke of Hastings. Gay Waterhouse, we've got Embracer. First Light Racing, we've got Vrenelli. And another one with Gay Waterhouse is a Tavistock filly that's unnamed at the moment. Oh, I'm missing a couple, Ben. We've got Toys on Fire with the McAvoys. I bet you there's a few more out there. But we love it. We find that we've constantly got one racing. It's enjoyable. We've got the family involved, getting into shares. We've got our friends. And look, COVID hasn't been great for anyone. We've really found the app has really connected us with the other owners of our group. So, yeah, we love it.
You mentioned Esprit Racing. You've told me about them a couple of times. Why are they a good case study in terms of Fred and also communication with owners?
Yeah, so Esprit Racing have done something really good. They've mandated the Fred app from an ownership perspective. As I said, they're a My Stable shop. So they integrate all of their daily operations has not changed. We get that My Stable email and we inject that into the Fred app. And then all the owners, they've got 100% of the owners on all of their horses. Now, when you've got 100% of the owners, you actually get a really good interaction from a chat perspective, and they're all around the country. You'll notice they're all around the country. Other trainers that we're in, they don't have the 100% uptake at the moment. And you know, if you're a listener listening to this podcast and you're the only one in your horse, it can be a lonely conversation with yourself. So within the app, there's a share function that you can share it out to your friends. But really that unique side of Esprit, 100% of their owners are on the app, really making that ownership experience that little bit better than the others.
So if there's any trainers or syndicators looking to get on board, just give you or me a call or an email.
If there's any trainers out there that want to jump on board, contact Ben. Ben's your man. He knows how the system works. He can explain all the features and functions. You can jump on board. We've got a marketplace where we can have some advertising. But if you're an owner, download the app. Go to our website, friendsofmred.com or fred.horse. Download the app today, connect to your horses, and start chatting with your owners and have some fun.
Could you tell me a bit about your other business or your main business in industry consulting? That's one of the other hats that you wear, Rich.
Yeah, I should grab that one. So I'm a partner at a consulting company called Industry & Co. We're predominantly focused on financial services. We've got 200 across Sydney, Melbourne, Hong Kong and Singapore. And I opened up the Melbourne office. So we predominantly build apps like the Friends of Mr. Red app for our clients, but ours are more in the banking sector. So we build out, banking platforms, trading platforms, any high-end, highly available application. Industry & Co. Has the opportunity to build that. So yeah, I've been there now for 5 years and absolutely loving it. Good fun.
I think what you're doing is a good example of how much of a technology shift there has been in everything we do. Banking now, it's all done. You can do it on your phone, or or you can even Google Pay. You just tap your phone now. It's just that's just an example of what you guys do, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. And just on that, Ben, that's a good point. We want to build out a feature within Fred that basically manages your syndicate.
Yep.
So it creates all the documentation. You can sign on glass. It sends the forms to Racing Australia so it can be registered. But the best thing that we want to build, because of our banking background, is we want to build out that payment functionality. We want to be able to pay those bills to that trainer so those bills are paid earlier. And from an owner perspective, you can manage the financial management of your horse a little bit better. Now, some owners might not want to see that and they can turn that feature off. But for me, a syndicate manager that manages, in excess of 17 active syndicates at the moment with 17 different spreadsheets and 17 different bank accounts, I really need a system to manage that appropriately. So, we're doing a raise at the moment to build that capability. Once we have that raise, we'll build out that additional feature that will benefit everyone.
Where does your love of racing come from? I know that you haven't been in it for that long, because I sometimes mention people to your organisations and you never heard of them before. So, but I mean, we learn every day. But where does your love of racing come from, and How did you get into it?
Yeah, so growing up with Dad had a small car yard in Preston in the outskirts or northern suburbs of Melbourne. And he used to have 927 on every Saturday as I'd go to work with him.
Yep.
I didn't really get into it and appreciate it back then. But as I got older, Dad used to go out to the pub with my cousin and they'll do the sneaky, Caulfield trip and a Cox Plate trip, and I was missing out. So I managed to join those groups. I really wanted to get closer to Dad. I joined those groups. We then went to the Inglis auctions. We got our first 5% share in a horse called Sweet Redemption with Gay, and the rest is history, mate. Got the smiles from ear to ear.
And anyone else looking to get into ownership, if they can look to afford it, what would you tell them? Like, what's the best part about being involved in racehorse ownership?
So the first thing is you don't have to buy a full 5% share. If you do, great. That's an awesome opportunity. But if you don't have the financial situation to do that, you can get smaller shares, and you own, if it's 1%, 2%, 3%, you have, 100% of the fund. That's my first bit of advice. The second bit of advice is, I was actually just talking to one of our customers, Ben, about 5 minutes ago, and he said there is no experience of being a racehorse owner more than when your horse crosses the finishing line. And I reflected on that, and I was like, yeah, you can't explain it. There is this adrenaline rush, excitement. Is it going to win? Then it wins. That you're doing that. That hug with someone that you don't know at the finishing line. It's actually quite exhilarating. So, if you haven't got into racehorse ownership before, I do encourage you to get into it. We're more than happy to help you and refer you to our trainer network and syndicator network. But yeah, give it a go. It is one of the most amazing things you could do in your lifetime.
And away from racing and business, what does Richard Busso like to do in his spare time?
I love cars. So I love going around and go-karting, or taking my car on the racetrack, or booking a trip on a racetrack. So yeah, I love the speed and I love the thrill. But yeah, I'm heavily involved into motorsport. So that's what I do outside of racing.
All right, Richard Busso, thanks for telling us all about Fred today. Really appreciate it, mate.
Thanks, mate. Love your work.
Thank you.